Bonjour and bienvenue à la SQL Undercover podcast. That's a limit of my French.
What he said.
Got myself, David, and we've let him out of the server room. He's up the top of some mountain, chilling out with the chillies. Have a look at him. It's Adrian. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. It's breezy. It's lovely. It's better. I'm a little bit holographic, though. I don't know what's going on with my lighting today, but maybe it's a glow off this snow. Who knows?
That could be it, couldn't it?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, how are you? All right?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Getting there anyway. Getting there.
So,
Next time round, busy week, but we're getting there.
Next time round, after that showing of the deferred compilation, we're going to do that little test. I think next session.
I reckon so.
Set that up.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah, we didn't manage to get it set up in time for this one, but yeah, definitely do it for next one. See how it does behave.
So this time around, because I haven't done one for a little while, so this time around I was going to demonstrate instant file initialization, because I've actually seen this cause not a problem, but I've seen this cause some slowness before now, and everyone was scratching their heads and couldn't work out what was going on until we went back to the basics and said, right, well, what's the problem? What were you actually doing in the beginning? What was you doing? What was you expecting? So they say, oh, we're doing this massive data load. I went, okay. So how much data was you loaded in? Oh, it was a full migration. Okay, how big is the database now? 500 gig. Right, okay, interesting. So I had a little look. I thought, well, one of the first things I'm going to check is, how did you set it up? They went, oh, we just went right-click, create new. Ah, right. So you went right-click, create new database. Yes, okay. So it probably started off about 8 meg, 64 meg if you're on a newer version of SQL. So instantly I thought maybe this had something to do with auto growth. So had a look, and instant file initialization was off. So they had like worries about how long this was going to take next time around. So I said, okay, well, look, what we're going to do, we're going to switch this on. I'm going to pre-size the database a bit as well, so that you've actually got a bit of room, because you don't really want it auto-growing at every increment like that. And then we'll see what happens. And yeah, unsurprisingly, it was blazingly fast after that. Yeah, it loaded in a few hours. We were really happy, and jobs are good and great. So I thought, I'm going to do a demo because I'm actually quite interested in this now. And it is clear to see, even with like small amounts of data, that there is a lot of gain to be had with instant file initialization. I'm not going to go into all the details about it. If you don't know what it is, look it up. There's some good blog posts out there about it. There's plenty of documentation about it. I think Brent's even got a post about it, about what it is. Basically, it's just without instant file initialization on, it's just going to, whenever it needs to allocate space on disk, it's going to zero out those blocks on disk, so that it's got a clean slate to work from. So during that process of writing out those zeros, obviously it's quite time consuming. If you're looking at the weights in SQL Server, you'll see the OS write file gather weight type in there. So that's one to look out for if you do want to track weight stats to see via that method instead. But yeah, by switching it on, you're saying, don't worry about zeroing it out. I don't care what's on the data file. I don't care what's at block level. Just allocate that space up front, and I'll just overwrite it when I get to it. So there are some pros and cons to it being on, and there's pros and cons to it being off. I'm purely just going to demo what it looks like speed-wise with it on, what it looks like speed-wise with it off. And it's up to you whether you want to have it off or on. Read up on the pros and cons.
Yeah, well, this is certainly worth looking around the security implications, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because there is potential here of containing data within your backup files of data that doesn't belong to that actual database. So you've got to be careful with it. But like I say, yeah, go and read up about it. Don't just go switching it on without reading about it first. So yeah, without further ado, let's show you. So this time round, I'm not using Management Studio. I'm actually using Azure Data Studio for a change. I'm taking Dave's idea.
Look at that.
It's not very sexy. I mean,
it's
very basic
as well. High contrast colour scheme, yeah.
It's very basic, but it'll do the job, and it gives me a nice little flow. So first of all, all I'm going to do is I've got a little proc here just to go and look at the growth sizes. So I'm going to, oh yeah, we've got to connect because I restarted the instance. Did it actually come back up? That's the question. Yeah, it's running. Is it running? Let's restart it. So I've gone all holographic. I should stop moving. Okay, so we're definitely up and running now. So make sure we're connected. Let's give that a run. That's better. So this is the growth rates at the moment. I'm not interested in log, we're only interested in the data file. So it's just to show that this is a gig growth rate. So every time it's going to grow out, it's going to grow out at a gig. Now, what I'm going to do for the demonstration is I'm not going to pump data into it. I'm just going to manually size it because it's the same thing, except it's just not auto growing. I'm just manually growing the file out. It's the same thing. It's still going to have to zero the files out. And I can actually conduct a test doing that as well, but it's pointless. It does the same thing. You don't need to see it doing it automatically. So this is the growth rate. It's going to set. I've set it to grow at a gig every time. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that I've actually got instant file and I can't even say it. Instant file initialization off. I'm going to call it IFI from now on, so I don't keep fumbling. So if you're not familiar with where to switch it off and on, you can go to secpol.msc. So if you go to run and secpol.msc will open you up a security policy window. And under account policy, no, I always go to account policies, local policies, user right assignment, you'll find there is a setting down here called perform volume maintenance tasks. And what you'll find under there is it doesn't tell you if it's switched off or on. All it tells you is what users or groups have access to that privilege. So it's only administrators on my machine. So I know that the SQL Server service is not running under administrator. You can check that from the configuration console, or you could check from a DMV if you wanted to. DM server services. I nearly did it. I nearly did it without typo. And you'll also see the service account in there too. But I mean,
or
yeah,
if you have the Undercover catalog installed,
yes,
you'll find it in the new services module as well.
Nice little plug. I like it.
I thought I'd chuck that in there.
We'll have a little ping go up there as well. Bing. So yeah, so it's off at the moment because I haven't got my service account in here, so it's set off. So I'm going to conduct my test with growing this database out through a loop. I'm just going to do 5 iterations of growing it out at a gig at a time. I'm not going to run through the code too much, but that's what it's going to do. It's going to hit that growth test database. It's going to grow it 1 gig increment at a time, and then what it's going to do is it's going to record the timings into this little temp table, and then at the end we'll just see an output of how long each iteration took. Pretty simple. We'll sit and wait for this to happen. I mean, to be fair, one thing I've missed here is oh, we've got a broken demo. What's going on? Oh, that didn't happen earlier. Oh, did I? I wonder if I didn't reset it.
I was going to say you didn't resize it down, did you?
I don't think I didn't reset it, did I? I didn't reset it. Let's try resetting it and we'll start that again.
Didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Let's try that again. Yes, better.
There we go.
So it's growing it, and you can see there's a delay between each one. Now, one thing I forgot to show, what I should have done was show this from the start, is that in case you're wondering, oh yeah, you're just on some crappy storage. Well, I'm not actually. I'm on an SSD, so it's not too bad. You know, it does around about 500 megabits a second, something like that. In fact, I did an output earlier, actually, if I can find my screenshots. Well, I'll dig it out in a minute, but I did a crystal disk mark just to prove it. But anyway, the point
I mean,
is,
to be fair, though, it doesn't really matter what storage you're on, does it? If you're on slow storage, it kind of emphasises it a little bit more, doesn't it, anyway?
yeah, exactly. You're on spinning media, and you're going to be waiting even longer than that. So, I mean, there's nothing special about SSD. It's just some basic economy SSD, but you know, it is quicker than the 7K spinning SATA. So yeah, these are my growths. So you can see the times. All we're really interested in here is the duration. So each one took around about 3.5 seconds. So overall, we waited 17 seconds to grow that database, 5 gig. And that might not sound a lot, but if you consider maybe you're an end user, maybe someone's pumping in some documents or something, whilst there's some end users trying to do some transactions. Maybe this is a selling site, so maybe you're clicking, you know, add to basket, and you know you're checking out. Well, I'd hate to be the person checking out being stuck behind these autocorrects. You'd be sitting there waiting like 3.7 seconds. But there'd be hundreds of you waiting 3.7 seconds, and then all of a sudden it looks like your site's, you know, coming to a grinding halt. You know, so what doesn't seem like much here, you know, your end user could potentially be feeling that. So one way to combat that, and like I say, you know, you need to be very careful of this and, you know, read up on it about the pros and cons and the security implementations about it. We can switch on IFI. So yeah, 17 seconds, roughly 3.5 seconds each. So let's collapse that down and let's just reset my database this time round, like I didn't do first time round. Let's reset that. So we're back to square one again, we're back to a gig. I'm going to go switch it on. So if you wasn't paying attention earlier, secpol.msc, get you into this security policy. Local policies, user right assignments, perform volume maintenance tasks. Now, I can do one of two things here. I can name the account, or I can grant permission to the service. Now, I'd rather grant permission to the service because if I ever change my service account in SQL Server, I'm covered. But if I didn't, if I named it as Adrian, and then I changed it, the user from the service account from Adrian to David, David won't instantly get IFI. So it makes sense to go NT service, MS SQL Server for a default instance. What is with live typing, eh? I bet I've typed that wrong as well, haven't I? MS SQL Server. And it should find it. Hit OK. Apply. OK. Now you do need to restart your instance. It's not instant. It's not going to just do it for you. You do have to give the instance a restart. So let's just give that a restart. So don't just do it in prod. You know?
Why not? Why not? You can do that, surely.
Yeah, just kill them. Yeah. Just shut them down. Kill them.
It's fine.
It's fine. Be all right. Be all right.
Warren, I think I've known plenty of people with that attitude.
Yes.
Yeah, just bounce the box. No one's going to notice.
Yeah, where did you test it? Oh, I tested it in prod. Oh, really? Brave person. So I did reset earlier, but just to make sure, I'm just going to reset again, just to be sure. Oh, my connection is broken. Re-establish connection. Yes.
That's because you bounced your box.
Let's try again. Okay, so we reset, trying to make sure that's definitely the case. So let's run through it again. I'm just going to prove to you that my database is what it says it is. We're set to a gig again, gig growth rate again. We're back to square one again. Now let's grow it manually and see what happens. Okay, growing database once. Bang, it's done.
Look at that.
Wow, the whole thing. 2 seconds. Look at that. Duration, 297 milliseconds, 87 milliseconds, 246 milliseconds. The whole thing, it grew 5 gig in under a second. Look at that. 700 milliseconds. And I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, this is only over a gig. This is nothing. Absolutely nothing. Really, really important, isn't it? I mean, it's a really important consideration to make. You know, if I guess, like we say, there's that security concern over it, so you do have to be careful. You know, if you are on shared storage and you've got data being mixed around, you know, you want to be careful of that. So it's definitely, it takes some careful consideration, but if you know that you can tick all the boxes from the security side of things, turn it on, switch it on. And that's it. Yeah, simple, pretty straightforward one for today.
That's really good. It's impressive to see it like that, isn't it? See the difference it makes.
Yeah, it really is.
What one growth taking 2 seconds? You don't think it. I mean, who ever tests how long a DB growth takes?
No.
And also brings up the question about your growth rates as well, doesn't it? As well. I mean,
yeah.
How often is your database growing during the day? It's interesting. That's really good, eh?
I have got. I mean, you'll find plenty of these kicking around, these scripts. But let me just dig it out quickly. There is a check for growth events, auto growth events kicking around. See, it's on the other screen over here. Pretty sure I've got one. Growth. I have got one. I'd like to check for auto growth. I think there's plenty out there where you can check the default trace for it. So, I mean, if you wanted to check out if you were suffering with it, then go and query the default trace. If you've had any, before your default trace has sort of cycled itself, you're going to find the auto growth events in there, and it tells you the duration in there too. I had a script. Have you got a script, Dave? You had a script as well, didn't you?
I have, but not handy on me.
No, I did have one, but well, if I do find it and I dig it out, I'll chuck it in the comments on the video, and then you can check for yourself if you've got it. I mean, there's plenty out there.
Blog post, can't we?
Yeah,
that'd be a good way.
I guess there'll be a blog post to say that this is out. I'll chuck it on there because it's a quick, easy way to check if you are experiencing it. Did I just find it? No, it's a different script. No, unfortunately, I haven't got it to hand.
Yeah, we'll chuck it up. We'll chuck it on a blog post, or if you find it, we'll chuck it into the comments.
Yeah.
Perhaps stick up on Git. We'll stick it up on GitHub.
Yeah.
Put it down from there.
Sounds good.
Oh, cheers, Sinead.
Well, that's it for today.
That's it. So we'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time. Then we'll be back with something else that we come up with. Possibly that table variable temp table comparison, table variable recompile comparison.
The speed comparison would be interesting. Watch CPU whilst it's doing it too. Just be interesting to see. It's another metric, isn't it? Yeah.
So cheers, Aid, and again, cheers for watching. Catch us in the usual places on SQLundercover.com, Twitter, Facebook, Slack, wherever else we are. As usual, it'll pop up on the screen behind me in about 2 seconds. So thanks very much, and catch you later.
Thank you.